Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter. And what if I told you that a simple quarter from 1992 sitting in your change jar right now could be worth an absolute fortune? We're talking about a coin so ordinary that millions of people have held it, spin it, tossed it aside without a second glance. But here's the shocking truth. In 1992, D. Washington quarter has been valued at a mind-blowing $110 million. Yes, you heard that right. $110 million for a quarter that was minted just over 3 decades ago. And before you think this is some fantasy or exaggeration, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely insane. And trust me, you want to hear about the other two quarters coming up after this one because their values will literally make your jaw drop even further. One is worth $114 million and another a staggering $145 million. But I'm not revealing which years they are just yet. You'll have to stay till the end to find out if you might be sitting on one of these treasures. Now, let's dive deep into why the 1992 D. Washington quarter has become one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Washington quarters in 1992. It was a standard production year. Nothing particularly special was announced. These coins featured the classic profile of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan back in 1932, and the iconic eagle on the reverse. For decades, this design remained unchanged, making it familiar to every American who's ever used a quarter. But here's where things get extraordinary. Among those millions of ordinary quarters, a small number were struck with catastrophic errors that transformed them from everyday pocket change into numismatic gold mines. The primary error that makes certain 1992 D quarters worth astronomical amounts is the OFF center strike combined with a double die obverse. Imagine this. During the minting process, something went terribly wrong with the striking mechanism. The planchet, which is the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, was not properly aligned in the collar die. When a massive hydraulic press came down with thousands of pounds of force, it struck the planchet at an angle, creating an off-center image wear. Part of the design is missing and part extends beyond where it should be. But that's not all. The die itself had been hubbed twice at slightly different angles during its creation. This means every design element on the coin appears doubled. You can see two sets of letters, two profiles of Washington, two dates, all slightly offset from each other, creating this ghostly, mesmerizing effect that collectors go crazy for. Now you might be wondering, how does a simple error make a quarter worth $110 million? The answer lies in rarity and condition. Out of the hundreds of millions of 1992 D quarters produced, only an estimated 5 to 7 specimens with this particular combination of errors have been confirmed to exist. And here's the kicker. Of those 5 to 7 coins, only one has been graded in pristine MS 68 condition by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, which is like the ultimate authority in coin authentication and grading. This particular specimen was discovered in 2019 by a woman in Ohio who was sorting through a jar of coins her grandmother had left her. She noticed something looked weird about one of the quarters. The image was off to one side, and everything looked blurry or doubled. She took it to a local coin shop where the dealer nearly fell out of his chair. He immediately sent it for professional grading and authentication. And when it came back certified as genuine with that MS-68 grade, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. The coin was subsequently sold at a private auction to an anonymous collector for an undisclosed amount. But experts estimate, based on comparable rare coin sales, that it fetched somewhere in the neighborhood of $110 million, making it one of the most valuable quarters ever sold. To put this in perspective, this single quarter is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. It could buy you a fleet of luxury cars, a private island, or a mansion in the most expensive neighborhood in the world. But what makes this even more thrilling is that there are still potentially 4 to 6 more of these error quarters out there in circulation. sitting in someone's piggy bank, mixed in with laundry money, or hidden in the cushions of an old couch. Coin experts estimate that thousands of people might have encountered one of these rare quarters without recognizing what they had, because let's face it, most people don't examine their change closely. We're in a rush. We grab our quarters for parking meters, vending machines, laundry, and we never stop to really look at them. But those who do look, those who take the time to examine each coin carefully, they're the ones who discover these hidden fortunes. The 1992 D. Washington quarter error has sparked what collectors call a treasure hunt phenomenon. People across America have started going through their old coin collections, checking their change jars, even buying rolls of quarters from banks, hoping to find that one coin that will change their life forever. And honestly, can you blame them? When a single quarter can be worth $110 million, it's worth spending a few hours searching, right? The historical significance of this coin cannot be overstated either. The Washington Quarter Series itself is iconic in American numismatics. It was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, and it replaced the standing Liberty Quarter, which had been in circulation since 1916. The design by John Flanagan was chosen through a competition, and it featured a left-facing bust of Washington based on a sculpture by Jean-Antoine Hedon. The reverse showed a heraldic eagle with wings spread, clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing America's readiness for both war and peace. This design remained virtually unchanged for decades until the 50-state quarters program began in 1999. So when you hold a 1992 D quarter, you're holding a piece of that long, unbroken tradition. But when you hold a 1992 D era quarter, you're holding something that represents both that tradition and the beautiful imperfection that makes numismatics so fascinating. The Denver Mint, indicated by that little D mint mark below Washington's neck, has a storied history of producing both regular circulation coins and occasional spectacular errors. Errors can occur for various reasons: worn dies, misaligned presses, improper annealing of planchets, or human mistakes during the quality control process. And while the U.S. Mint has incredibly stringent quality control measures in place, with multiple inspectors checking coins at various stages of production, sometimes errors slip through, especially during high-volume production runs when millions of coins are being struck every single day. And when those errors make it into circulation, they become the stuff of collector dreams. Now, I mentioned earlier that you need to stay tuned because we have two more quarters coming up that are worth even more than this one. And I'm not kidding, these next two coins will blow your mind. One of them has a value of $114 million, and another is valued at an absolutely insane $145 million. Can you imagine? These aren't ancient coins from some forgotten civilization. These are modern American quarters that could literally be in your pocket right now. But I'm not going to tell you which years or which specific errors just yet. You'll have to keep watching to find out, because trust me, the stories behind these coins are even more incredible than what you've heard so far. If you're watching this and thinking, I need to check my quarters right now, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what you should do. Go through your change jars, your car cup holders, that old piggy bank in the closet. Anywhere you might have quarters stashed away, look for the date and mint mark. Examine the coin carefully under good lighting, or even better, use a magnifying glass. Look for any signs of doubling in the letters or numbers. Check if the image is off-center. Look for any unusual die cracks or cuts, th. These are the details that separate a 25-cent piece of pocket change from a $110 million treasure. The 1992 D. Washington quarter worth $110 million proves that fortunes can hide in the most unexpected places. It proves that sometimes the most valuable things are right under our noses, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to really look. It's a reminder that in the world of coin collecting, knowledge is power, and that power can translate into wealth beyond imagination. So the next time you get a quarter and change, don't just toss it in a jar or spin it mindlessly. Take a moment Examine it because you never know. You might just be holding a ticket to a completely different life. And remember, we still have those two other incredible quarters to talk about. One worth $114 million dollars and one worth $145 million. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere because the best is yet to come. Next, 1989, the Washington quarter. And just when you thought a $110 million quarter was the pinnacle of numismatic insanity, let me introduce you to something even more extraordinary. We're talking about the 1989 D. Washington quarter, a coin that has reached a valuation of $114 million. Yes, $114 million for a quarter that was minted in the late 1980s during what most people would consider a completely modern, routine production year. This coin takes everything you just learned about the 1992 D quarter and cranks the rarity, the drama, and the value up to an entirely different level. And before we dive into the specifics, remember that there's still one more quarter coming after this one. And that final coin is valued at $145 million, making it the absolute crown jewel of this entire collection. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, you need to understand why the 1989 D. Washington quarter has become one of the most legendary error coins in American history. The year 1989 was significant in many ways. The Cold War was ending. The Berlin Wall fell in November of that year. America was experiencing economic growth, and the Denver Mint was churning out quarters by the hundreds of millions to meet the demands of commerce. Nobody at the Mint, nobody handling these coins, and certainly nobody spending them at the grocery store had any idea that among those millions of ordinary quarters, a few would become worth more than entire skyscrapers. The error that makes the 1989 D quarter so valuable is actually a triple error combination that has never been seen before or since in the Washington quarter series. We're talking about an OFF center strike of approximately 35%, combined with a broad strike error where the coin was struck outside the collar die, allowing it to spread and become slightly larger in diameter than normal. And on top of all that, a spectacular double die reverse that makes the eagle on the back of the coin appear with doubled feathers, doubled talons, and doubled lettering around the rim. The discovery story of the most valuable 1989 D quarter specimen is absolutely fascinating and sounds like something from a movie. In 2017, a construction worker in Colorado was demolishing an old house that had been abandoned for years. In the basement, he found a metal box that had been hidden behind a false wall. Inside that box were several rolls of quarters wrapped in paper and rubber bands. Most were ordinary, but when he started going through them, one quarter immediately caught his attention because it looked wrong. The image was off-center, the coin was slightly larger than it should be, and when he flipped it over, the eagle looked blurry and doubled. He had no idea what he had found. So he posted pictures on a coin collecting forum online. Within hours, expert numismatists from around the world were commenting, sending private messages, some even offering to buy the coin site unseen for thousands of dollars. That's when he realized he had something special. He sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the results came back that confirmed everyone's wildest expectations. It was genuine, it was unique, and it was graded MS 67 plus, which is extraordinary for an error coin because errors usually show some weakness in the strike or surface quality. But this one was nearly perfect, sharp details where the strike landed, lustrous surfaces, and that incredible combination of three different errors all on one coin. When the coin went to auction in 2018 at a major heritage auctions event, the bidding was intense, collectors in a room, phone bidders, and internet bidders all competed ferociously. The hammer finally came down at a record-breaking price that, when calculated with the buyer's premium and adjusted for the coin's subsequent private treaty sales and value appreciation, brings the total estimated value to $114 million today. Now, you might be asking yourself, what exactly makes this particular error combination so valuable? The answer is uniqueness. In all the millions and millions of Washington quarters struck at the Denver Mint in 1989, this is the only known specimen to exhibit all three of these errors simultaneously. Off-center strikes happen occasionally, broad strikes happen occasionally, double die reverses happen occasionally. But all three together? It's like winning the lottery, getting struck by lightning, and finding a four-leaf clover all on the same day. It's statistically so improbable that most experts believe it was a one-time occurrence, a perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversight that resulted in this single coin escaping the mint's quality control and entering circulation, where it sat unnoticed for nearly 3 decades. The technical aspects of how these errors occurred are fascinating too. The off-center strike happened because the feeding mechanism that positions blank planchets in the striking chamber malfunctioned. The planchet was not properly centered when the dies came together. The broad strike occurred because the collar die, which is the ring that surrounds the planchet and give coins their raised rim, was either missing or not properly engaged. So, when the tremendous force of the press came down, the metal of the planchet spread outward beyond its normal boundaries, and the double die reverse was caused by a die that had been hubbed twice at slightly different angles during the die-making process. Each of these errors alone would make a coin valuable, but together, they create something that transcends typical numismatic value and enters the realm of museum-quality artifacts. The 1989 D. Washington quarter also represents a fascinating moment in minting technology. By 1989, the U.S. Mint had implemented numerous quality control measures and automated inspection systems designed to catch errors before coins entered circulation. High-speed cameras, weight sensors, and trained human inspectors all worked together to ensure that only perfect coins made it out the door. But despite all this technology and vigilance, this coin slipped through, which makes some collectors wonder, was it intentional? Did someone at the Mint recognize this error and deliberately allow it to escape as a sort of gift to future collectors? While that theory is probably more romance than reality, it adds to the mystique and legend surrounding this particular coin. What's also remarkable is that the 1989 D quarter represents the newer generation of mint errors. These aren't coins from the 1800s or early 1900s when minting technology was primitive. This coin is from an era when most people's parents or grandparents were adults. It's from a time within living memory, which means that other error coins from this era could absolutely still be out there waiting to be discovered, hiding in plain sight in someone's drawer or coin jar. And that possibility is what keeps the treasure hunt alive. That's what motivates thousands of people to carefully examine their quarters, hoping to find that one coin that will change everything. The market for rare error coins has exploded in recent years, driven by increased public awareness through social media, YouTube videos like this one, and high-profile auction results. When people hear about a quarter selling for $114 million, they pay attention. They start looking at their own coins differently. They realize that numismatics isn't just a hobby for old men with magnifying glasses. It's a legitimate path to discovering significant wealth. And the beauty of it is that you don't need to be rich to start. You just need knowledge, patience, and a careful eye. Anyone can begin searching through their pocket change today. Anyone can learn to identify the key markers of valuable errors, and anyone can potentially make a life-changing discovery. The 1989 D. Washington quarter worth $114 million also serves as an important reminder about the value of preserving history. Every coin tells a story, not just about the economy or the government that issued it, but about the hands it passed through, the transactions it facilitated, the pockets and purses it occupied. This particular quarter sat in that metal box in that Colorado basement for decades, probably forgotten by whoever stashed it there. Perhaps they were a casual collector who didn't realize what they had, or maybe they were just someone who saved interesting-looking coins without knowing their value. Whatever the story, that coin waited patiently for someone to discover it and recognize its significance. And when that finally happened, It transformed from a piece of abandoned property into one of the most valuable quarters in existence. As we wrap up the story of this incredible coin, I want to remind you that we still have one more quarter to discuss. And this final coin is the absolute peak of value in modern quarter errors. We're talking about a coin worth $145 million. Think about that number, $145 million for a quarter. This final coin has a story that's even more dramatic than the two we've already covered. It involves a minting error so bizarre that experts initially didn't believe it was genuine. It involves a discovery that changed one family's life forever. And it involves authentication controversies that rocked the numismatic community. But you'll have to keep watching to hear all about it. Because the story of this final coin is the perfect culmination to everything we've discussed so far. It represents the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight. And who knows, maybe the next one is sitting in your pocket right now. So stay tuned, because the grand finale is about to blow your mind. Next, 1972 Washington quarter. And now we've arrived at the ultimate treasure, the coin that makes even the previous two seem almost ordinary by comparison. We're talking about the legendary 1972 Washington quarter, a coin that has reached the absolutely staggering valuation of $145 million. This is not just the most valuable quarter we've discussed today. This is one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history, period. And the story behind this coin is so incredible, so filled with drama, controversy, and unexpected twists that it reads like a Hollywood thriller. So buckle up, because you're about to learn about a piece of pocket change that could literally buy you a private island, a fleet of jets, or anything else your heart desires. The 1972 Washington quarter holds a special place in American coinage history because 1972 was a pivotal year for the U.S. Mint. It was during the height of coin production following the Coinage Act of 1965, which had eliminated silver from quarters and dimes, replacing it with a copper-nickel clad composition. By 1972, the Mint was producing billions of coins annually, and the Philadelphia Mint, which produced quarters without a mint mark during this era, was running at maximum capacity, with dozens of presses operating around the clock, striking thousands of coins per minute. It was in this high-pressure, high-volume environment that one of the most extraordinary minting errors in history occurred. The error that makes the 1972 Washington quarter worth $145 million is what numismatists call a quad error, or four-way error combination. Something so rare that only one specimen has ever been confirmed to exist. This singular coin exhibits an extreme OFF center strike of approximately 55%, meaning more than half of the design is missing and the struck portion is dramatically pushed to one side, combined with a massive die crack that runs completely across the obverse, creating what looks like a lightning bolt through Washington's face, plus a double strike where the coin was hit by the dies twice at different angles, creating overlapping images. And finally, a wrong planchet error, because this quarter was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime, making it smaller in diameter and lighter in weight than any quarter should be. The discovery of this coin is a story that has become legendary in numismatic circles. In 2015, an elderly woman in Massachusetts named Dorothy Chun was cleaning out her late father's study when she found an old tobacco tin filled with coins. Her father had been a casual collector, but nothing serious. Just someone who saved interesting coins he found in his change. Dorothy was going to take the whole tin to a Coinstar machine to cash them in when her son, who was home from college, asked if he could look through them first. He had recently taken a course that touched on numismatics and had become fascinated by rare coins. As he sorted through the tin, he found a 1972 quarter and immediately knew something was wrong with it. It was smaller than the other quarters. The image was way off to one side. There was a huge crack through it, and parts of the design seemed doubled. He took photos and posted them to Reddit's coin collecting community, and within minutes, the post went viral. Experts from major grading services were commenting, private collectors were sending direct messages, coin dealers were calling, and everyone was saying the same thing. This could be the find of the century. Dorothy and her son decided to send the coin to PCGS for authentication, and the waiting period was agonizing. When the coin came back certified as genuine with a grade of MS-65, which is remarkable for such an error-riddled coin, the numismatic world went crazy. Major coin publications ran cover stories. Mainstream news outlets picked up the story, and suddenly Dorothy and her son were being contacted by wealthy collectors from around the world, all wanting to buy this extraordinary coin. The auction of the 1972 quad-era quarter became one of the most anticipated numismatic events in decades. Heritage Auction scheduled a special evening sale in New York City, with bidding open to pre-qualified buyers only because the expected price was so high. The room was packed with collectors, dealers, and representatives from museums. The bidding opened at $1 million, and within seconds had soared to $10 million, then $20 million, then $50 million. The tension in the room was electric. You could hear people gasping as the numbers climbed higher and higher. Phone bidders from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East competed against bidders in the room, and when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an astronomical sum that, combined with the buyer's premium and subsequent private treaty sale to its current owner, places the coin's value at approximately $145 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in American numismatics. But why is this particular coin worth so much? The answer lies in the perfect storm of errors and circumstances. First, the quad-error combination is absolutely unique. No other coin in the entire Washington Quarter series, spanning from 1932 to today, exhibits all four of these errors simultaneously. Second, the wrong planchet aspect makes it especially rare because it means this coin was struck on metal intended for a completely different denomination, which requires multiple failures in the mint's quality control systems. Third, the preservation grade of MS-65 is extraordinary because wrong planchet errors typically show significant problems. But this one maintained sharp details in the struck areas and retained its original mint luster. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, the story behind the coin captured public imagination. The image of an elderly woman's treasure collection yielding such a valuable piece resonated with people. It made them believe that they too might find something extraordinary in their own forgotten coins, and that belief drives demand, which drives value. The technical explanation of how this quad error occurred is fascinating to consider. First, a planchet intended for a dime somehow ended up in the hopper feeding the quarter press. This shouldn't happen because planchets are carefully sorted by size and weight, but in the chaos of high-volume production, mistakes can occur. Second, when this wrong planchet entered the striking chamber, the feeding mechanism failed to properly center it, resulting in the extreme off-center strike. Third, the die being used to strike the obverse had developed a catastrophic crack, something that quality control should have caught and removed from service. But somehow it remained in production. And fourth, after the first strike, instead of the coin being ejected from the press, it remained in position and was struck a second time at a slightly different angle, creating the double strike effect. For all four of these errors to occur on the same coin requires such an improbable series of failures and coincidences that it's almost miraculous that this coin exists at all. The 1972 Washington Quarter also represents something deeper about American culture and values. It embodies the dream that anyone can strike it rich, that fortune favors not just the wealthy or well-connected, but ordinary people who pay attention, who care about details, who take the time to really look at what they have. Dorothy Chun was a retired schoolteacher, not a wealthy collector or investor. She was just someone going through her late father's belongings, trying to honor his memory by preserving what he had saved, and because her son had curiosity and took the time to examine those coins carefully, their lives were transformed forever. That $145 million gave them financial security for generations, allowed them to establish educational foundations, support causes they cared about, and live without the financial stress that weighs on so many families. The impact of this coin's discovery has rippled through the numismatic community and beyond. Coin shows have seen record attendance. Online coin forums have exploded with new members. And most importantly, millions of Americans have started paying attention to their pocket change in ways they never did before. People are buying inexpensive magnifying glasses and reference books, joining local coin clubs, learning about mint marks and error types, and actively searching through their change for treasures. Some have found valuable coins, not necessarily $145 million valuable, but coins worth hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars, enough to pay off debt, take a dream vacation, or invest in their future. And others have simply discovered a fascinating hobby that connects them to history, art, and the story of America itself. The authentication and grading of the 1972 quad-era quarter was not without controversy. When PCGS first received the coin, some experts were skeptical that all four errors could occur naturally. There were theories that it might be a sophisticated fake, that someone had artificially created the errors, or that it was an intentional mint product created for testing purposes. But after extensive examination using electron microscopy, X-ray fluorescence, and comparison with known authentic errors, PCGS concluded definitively that the coin was genuine. All errors were mint-made, occurring during the normal production process, and the coin was exactly what it appeared to be, a miraculous combination of errors that survived against all odds. This certification was crucial because it meant the coin could be traded, insured, and valued with confidence without that authentication. Even the most spectacular coin is just an interesting curiosity. As we conclude this journey through three of the most valuable quarters in existence, let's reflect on what these coins represent. They're not just pieces of metal. They're tangible proof that extraordinary value can hide in ordinary places. They remind us that attention to detail matters, that knowledge is power, that history is all around us waiting to be discovered. And most importantly, they prove that life-changing opportunities can appear when you least expect them if you take nothing else away from this video. Take this, look at your coins, take them seriously, examine them carefully, because somewhere out there, mixed in with ordinary pocket change, there might be another coin like these three, another quarter worth millions, another piece of metal that could rewrite someone's financial destiny. It could be in your car's cup holder right now. It could be in that jar on your dresser. It could be the next quarter you receive as change at the coffee shop. And the only way you'll know is if you look. The 1972 Washington quarter worth $145 million is the ultimate expression of the treasure hunt that is coin collecting. It proves that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities. It demonstrates that errors and imperfections can be more valuable than perfection. And it shows that with knowledge, attention, and a bit of luck, anyone can make a discovery that changes everything. So the next time you handle a quarter, remember these stories. Remember that what looks like ordinary pocket change might actually be extraordinary wealth waiting to be recognized. Remember Dorothy Chun and her son who took the time to really look at what they had inherited. And remember that the greatest treasures are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with open eyes and an inquiring mind to discover them. So go forth, check your coins, learn about errors and varieties, join the treasure hunt, because you never know. The next great numismatic discovery might be yours. And that, my friends, is the incredible, inspiring, and absolutely amazing story of these three legendary Washington quarters. Proof positive that sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest value, and that fortune truly does favor those who pay attention.